Malt liquor is a North American term referring to a type of beer with high alcohol content. In legal statutes, the term often includes any alcoholic beverage not lower than 5% alcohol by volume made with malted barley. In common parlance, however, it is used for high-alcohol beers or beer-derived mixes made with ingredients and processes resembling those in American-style lager. However, this label is subject to the viewpoint of the brewer, and there are examples of brews containing high-quality, expensive ingredients that brewers have chosen to label as malt liquors. In parts of Canada, the term malt liquor is used to refer to any malt beverages in general. Manufacture: malt liquor is a strong lager or ale in which sugar, corn or other adjuncts are added to the malted barley to boost the total amount of fermentable sugars in the wort, and thus boost the final alcohol concentration without creating a heavier or sweeter taste. These beers tend to be mildly hopped. That is, they are not very bitter. Brewing and legal definitions: malt liquor is typically straw to pale amber in color. While typical beer is both made primarily from barley, water, and hops, malt liquors tend to make much greater use of inexpensive adjuncts such as corn, rice, or dextrose. Use of these adjuncts, along with the addition of special enzymes, results in a higher percentage of alcohol than an average beer. Higher alcohol versions, sometimes called high gravity, or just HG, may contain high levels of fusel alcohols, which gives off solvent or fuel-like aromas and flavors. The confusing and inconsistent use of the term malt liquor has to do with the vagaries of American alcoholic beverage regulations, which can vary from state to state. In some states, malt liquor refers to any alcoholic beverage made by fermenting grain and water. In these states, a non-alcoholic beer may also be called a non-alcoholic or non-intoxicating malt liquor. In some states, products labeled beer must fall below a certain alcohol content, and beers that exceed the mark must be labeled as malt liquor. While ordinary beers in the United States average around 5% alcohol by volume, malt liquors typically range from 6% up to 9% alcohol by volume. A typical legal definition is Colorado's Reverend Stat SS 12-47-103, 19, which provides that malt liquors includes beer and shall be construed to mean any beverage obtained by the alcoholic fermentation of any infusion or decoction of barley, malt, hops or any other similar products, or any combination thereof, in water containing more than 3 2/10% of alcohol by weight. Alcohol percentages measured by weight translate into larger figures when re-expressed as alcohol percentages by volume, because ethanol is less dense than water. History: the term malt liquor is documented in England in 1690 as a general term encompassing both lager and ale. The first mention of the term in North America appears in a patent issued by the Canadian government on July 6, 1842, to 1 G. Riley for an improved method of brewing ale, beer, porter, and other malt liquors. While Colt 45, St. Ides, Mickey's, Steel Reserve, King Cobra, and Old English 800 are most closely associated with malt liquors in the United States, the beverage itself is older than these products. Clix is often credited as the first malt liquor made in the United States, granted a patent in 1948. The first widely successful malt liquor brand in America was Country Club, which was produced in the early 1950s by the M.K. Goes Brewing Company in St. Joseph, Missouri. 40s. In the American vernacular, a 40-ounce or simply 40 is a glass bottle that holds 40 fluid ounces of malt liquor. Malt liquors are commonly sold in 40 fluid ounce bottles, among other sizes, as opposed to the standard 12-ounce bottle that contains a single serving of beer, although many malt liquors are offered in varying volumes. American domestic malt liquors tend to be very inexpensive, although this is not necessarily true for foreign imports that are also labeled malt liquor. Examples of malt liquors sold in 40-ounce bottles include Old English 800, Colt 45, Mickey's, Camo 40, Black Fist, Country Club, Black Bull, Labatt Blue Dry 6.18.110.1, Wildcat, Molson Dry 6.58.5/10.1, Private Stock, Big Bear, St. Ides, Steel Reserve 211, B40 Bull Max, King Cobra, Jeremiah Weed, and Hurricane. Dogfish Head Brewery has sporadically produced a high-end bottle condition 40 called Liqueur de Malt. Ballantine markets its ale in a 40-ounce bottle as well. 40s are often mentioned in hip-hop and rap culture by rappers such as Tupac, E40, Ice Cube, N.W.A., Cypress Hill, Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, Snoop Doggy Dogg, Wu-Tang Clan, Warren G., Nate Dogg, Thar Dog Pound, The Notorious B.I.G., Eminem, Hollywood Undead and many other rap stars endorsing the 40-ounce tradition. A similar trend was common around the late 90s and early 2000 feet punk scene. Notably the Casualties 40 Casualty and Left a Paragraph for Cracks Rock the 40.0Z, and the song 40 Ounces to Freedom by the band Sublime. At least for a brief period in the mid-1990s, some brands of malt liquor, including Oldie English 800, Colt 45, and Mickey's, were available in even larger, 64-ounce glass bottles. 40-ounce bottles are not permitted in some U.S. states, such as Florida, where the largest container that a malt beverage may be sold at retail is 32 U.S. fluid ounces, although there is no evidence that this has any impact on the amount any one individual may consume at a given time. International: while American malt liquor brands are rarely, if ever, exported to Europe, similar inexpensive high-alcohol beers are available in many areas there. These include the super-strength lagers such as Tennant Super and Carlsberg Special Brew in the United Kingdom, and in France the Bières Fortes Amsterdam Navigator, Amsterdam Maximator and Bavaria 8.6. Arberger 10.2% of Sweden or Olvi Tuplapaki and Karutissi Vuohva in Finland. Another example of an imported beer labeled as malt liquor is German brewer Spaten's Optimator, a Dopplerbock that weighs in at 7.6 ABV. The name of the brew follows a long-standing tradition of doppels ending in the suffix -ator. It is an industry tribute to the original Dopplerbock, brewed by Paul Ehner, named Salvator. There was a short-lived fashion for brewing American-style malt liquors in Britain in the late 70s and early 80s. Some of these were genuine American brands brewed under license, notably Colt 45, and some were simply inspired by the style. They generally contained 5% ABV. These beers were heavily marketed for a few years but failed to make a lasting impact and are no longer produced. See also, low-end fortified wine, references, notes. External links, database of 40s, Riverfront Times Behold the 40.